welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Business Point here on Global Television, your hub for topical discussions around Nigeria's economy and business environment, as well as policy-related topics. I am Queen Agaba. Today, we shine the spotlight on the sector that affects every Nigerian household and enterprise, talking about the power sector. Despite a sharp rise in electricity billing by over 106% year on year, recent data from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission shows that distribution companies, the DISCOs, recorded a staggering shortfall of over 202 billion naira in revenue collection in just the first quarter of 2025, while customers were billed a total of 761.91 billion naira between January and March. Only 559 billion naira was actually collected, raising major questions about the financial viability of the sector, the effectiveness of the billing system, and the trust deficit between consumers and service providers. From Lagos to Kaduna, from Ikeja Electricity to Yola Disco, the numbers tell a worrying story. Revenue losses are mounting, collection efficiency is declining in many regions, particularly in the north, and then investment in infrastructure remains grossly inadequate. What are the implications of these paradox where bills are going up but payments are not? Or why are DISCOs struggling to collect revenue despite higher tariffs? And what does this mean for Nigerian businesses, inflation, and the dream of a truly industrialized economy? Well, joining me to unpack this complex situation is an economic analyst, Samson Owe, who would help us explore the ripple effects of this ongoing revenue crisis in the power sector. After the break, please stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us here on Business Point. There are bigger questions around the implication of a system where electricity payment and bills are going up, and then DISCOs are also struggling to collect revenue despite higher tariffs, and what it means for Nigerian businesses and the dream of an industrialized economy. And I'm being joined now by Samson Owe, who is an economic analyst. Many thanks for joining me on the program, Mr. Sam.
Thank you so much, Queen.
Okay, to begin with, what do you make of the recent 107% hike in electricity tariffs by the DISCOs, particularly in light of the current state of power supply across the country?
Thank you, Queen. To be honest, this 107 hike is very, 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 very difficult to defend, both morally and economically. By the time you check it, you yourself, you know that it's very, very difficult to defend such a hike, because it is what someone can call a disconnect between value and pricing. Because across the country, power supply has not improved. In fact, in many places, like some parts of Lagos, Enugu, Nasarawa, and Benue State, you discover that people are getting less than 6 hours of power supply per day. Some communities haven't even had light in weeks, yet this same household are receiving bills that have doubled. So if the prices, if the economic, if the power tariff is going up, and then there is no power to back it up, it's a very, very difficult situation. That's just like what I said. It's a big disconnect between value and pricing. So now, just imagine a tailor in Kubwa or a frozen food seller in Wari who depends on electricity to keep their goods fresh. She now has to pay more for a service that has not improved. What this hike represents is a system where consumers are being punished for the inefficiency of the provider. It is economically unjustifiable and socially insensitive.
This increase seems to have caught many businesses and households off guard, like you mentioned. And then, you might want to tell us some of the economic justification for this tariff hike, particularly when supply remains erratic and, unreliable.
Okay, thank you so much, Queen. So from the discourse point of view, they will tell you it's a cost reflective tariff, which means they are trying to recover the cost of energy production, inflation, and forex challenges. Yes, diesel is expensive, gas prices have gone up, and they need to pay the GenCos, but cost recovery without service improvement is daylight robbery. Queen, if you yourself you check this thing, cost recovery without, now the people are not even asking for they are now at home, as in at rest with the hike, but the services are not there. So in proper market economics, if you raise prices, your services must improve. If I am paying more for DSTV on Netflix, I expect better content. But here, we are paying more and getting less. That's not how functional economics work.
Okay, let's just look at SMEs now and households, and then the broader economy at large. This tariff adjustment is likely to affect small and medium enterprises, especially those already battling with fuel costs, multiple task burdens, and all of that. How is this going to affect these businesses?
Okay, this is where the real danger lies, Queen. SMEs are the backbone of our economy. If you check the statistics very well, you discover that over 80% of jobs in Nigeria come from them. Now let's take example. A local printing press in Kaduna that operates with 6 staffs and relies on electricity to run machine. If his electricity bills jump from 45,000 to over 90,000, because we are talking about 107% tariff increase here. So if his electricity bill jumped from 45,000 to over 90,000 and he's still not getting 12 hours of light, he will have to run his generator more. That means buying diesel at 1,500 naira per liter or petrol at 700. He now has 3 options. Increase his prices, which customer may reject, reduce staff, which increases unemployment or close shop entirely. You see, this is the danger of all these things. And then that's the vicious cycle we are entering. Tariff hikes without reliable supply can cripple businesses and push more people into poverty. And somebody say poverty is very expensive.
Like you just mentioned that these hikes are already crippling businesses and could cripple businesses. But considering businesses, how do you think businesses will likely pass these costs to consumers?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, yes. I was. So please, can you come again, please?
Yes, I said, the rising electricity bills, how will it lead to further inflationary pressures, considering businesses would likely pass these costs, like you mentioned, to consumers?
Okay, thank you so much. So, absolutely, inflation in Nigeria is already above 30%, and energy cost is a major driver of what we call cost push inflation. When electricity becomes expensive, Queen, manufacturers and service providers increase the cost of goods and increases the cost of goods to cover that expenses. Every basic, even the woman that sells kuli in the market can attest to this, Queen. A bakery in Benin that was paying 100,000 naira for power monthly now pays 200,000. They will not absorb that cost. I don't know if you are getting me, Queen. They cannot absorb that cost because they already have other costs that they are trying to cushion because of other economic charges. So they will increase the price of the bread. Then the supermarket increases their shelf price. Then the final consumer bears the brunt. It's a ripple effect, Queen. So yes, this tariff hike is not just about light bills. It affects the price of almost everything in the market. And you are a woman, I don't know, you go to the market often and then you know how things are skyrocketing by the day. And by the time you check it very well, you discover that it's a fall off from the power hike and some other things. So from water to bread, transportation, and even hospital services, everything would have to move up too. Thank you, Queen.
Well, let's look at the long-term impact, the potential long-term impact of poor power supply and then high tariffs, particularly now that we say we want to drive industrialization and job creation. What are the long-term impacts?
Okay, thank you again. And long-term, it spells disaster. That's just what I am going to say. Long-term does what? It spells disaster. No country industrializes without affordable and stable electricity. Look at Ethiopia, for instance, Queen. They focus on cheap energy and attract textile factories. South Africa, despite its own issues, still produce more power than all of West Africa combined. Queen, the statistics are there. By the time you check it, you will see. So in Nigeria, the power situation is not just discouraging investors, it's driving away existing ones. Some manufacturing companies have left Nigeria for Ghana. Nigeria is the giant of Africa, don't forget that. So when investors start leaving, that means there are challenges. So some have even left to Ivory Coast because power costs are killing productivity. If we want to create jobs, Queen, build industries and reduce import dependency, we must of necessity fix our power sector.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it, where we take a break now. And after the break, we'll look at policies and regulations and then reforms. How can we move forward regarding these issues? We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Business Point continues after the break. Many thanks for staying with us on the program Business Point. If you've just joined us, this is Business Point on Global Television, and we are looking at the impact of the 107% increase hike raised by Discos on Nigeria's economy. And I'm joined by Samson Owe, who is an economic analyst. Before the break, we're talking about the long-term impact of these issues, this constant lack of electricity tariff. Mr. Owe, Nigerians often complain of estimated billing and lack of prepaid meters. And do you think that this tariff hike is fair when there's no accountability on the actual electricity delivered?
It is completely unfair, Queen. Estimated billing is legalized cheating. Imagine someone in a one-room apartment in Jos being charged 30,000 naira for electricity when he barely gets lights. Prepaid meter should be a fundamental requirement before any tariff review. So Discos were giving funds under the National Mass Metering Program to close this gap, yet millions of Nigerians are still unmetered. Without meters, how do we even know what we are paying for? Do you understand? So it's like buying fuel without knowing how many liters you receive. This tariff hike under these conditions lacks moral and economic legitimacy. Yes.
Okay, you know, let's even look at the role of NEC, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, and they're expected to play the roles are expected to play in protecting consumers and ensuring transparency. Over time, we've heard from NEC. Are they doing enough regarding this issue of metering and what we have?
NEC is supposed to be the referee, but they are beginning to look like they've picked sides.
Oh, really?
Yes.
When you say they picked sides, how do you mean?
Now, look, listen to me carefully. Their job is to ensure that consumers are not exploited and that the power sector is run efficiently. But what we are seeing is a lot of silence from NEC on the side of service delivery and accountability. They approved this hike under the guise of Band A classification. Sorry, excuse me. But how many consumers even understand what band they belong to? Who is monitoring whether Discos are truly giving 20 plus hour of electricity daily? If NEC fails to act boldly, consumers lose trust and the whole reform process is undermined, Queen. Completely undermined.
But with this increase, do you believe the government is silently withdrawing electricity subsidies? And then, if so, what are the implications for economic growth and social equity?
Yes. What we are seeing is a silent subsidy removal. The government didn't come out boldly like they did with fuel. You understand? They didn't come, fuel, they say subsidy is gone and then that was it. But this one, the government didn't come out boldly like they did with fuel, but they've allowed the hike while telling Discos to charge reflective tariffs. Now, this is the danger. The danger is removing subsidy in a struggling economy without first fixing the basics is like removing someone's crutches before their leg has healed. Nigerians are already overburdened, Queen. What we need is a gradual, transparent process with clear social protection for vulnerable groups. Otherwise, we will see more social unrest and deeper poverty.
Speaking about structuring and then vulnerable groups, what alternatives or reforms would you recommend where we see that Nigerians get value for what they pay in terms of electricity tariffs?
Okay, first, meter every consumer. Meter every consumer. No reform can work without data and transparency. That is just it. Second, we must tie tariffs to performance. If a disco promises 20 hours of power and gives only 8, they should face penalty, not bonuses. Also, we need to unburden the system further, allow state and private investors to build their own power infrastructures. Like Lagos State, for instance, is trying to do. Other states too should follow suit. Let competition come in. Monopoly has failed us. Let competition comes in.
Interesting. You know, having this conversation, is privatization of the power sector still a viable solution, or has it failed to deliver the expected transformation?
Privatization in itself isn't the problem. The issue is that we privatize poorly. What we did in 2013 with transfer public inefficiency to public monopoly. Most of the discos were not financially or technically capable, but they got license anyway. So if we review the framework, enforce performance, and introduce competition, privatization can still work. But if we continue with business as usual, then we are simply enriching a few while millions suffers in darkness. Yes.
Well, while we hope that necessary reforms is taken, and some of your suggestions, we hope that our government will look into it. But for businesses and households, what do you think, or how can they adapt and remain productive in the face of these energy shocks and challenges?
Okay, it's not easy, Queen, but we need to become more energy conscious. For household, that means switching to energy saving bulbs, investing in inverter or small solar units, even if it's just to power basic appliances. For businesses, it's time to explore off-grid solution. Some SMEs in places like Ogun State are forming cooperatives to invest in solar collectively. That's innovation under pressure. Yes, because if the systems are okay, then we wouldn't have had some of these innovations. But beyond that, Nigerians must start demanding accountability from their discos and elected officials, because until the people push back, the system may never change, and that's just the truth.
Well, thank you very much, Samson Oye, economic analyst. Thank you for your insights and contributions looking at the recent raise bills by 107% by discos. Thank you, and we hope that you join us again on Business Point.
Thank you so much, Queen.
Have a great day ahead.
Yes.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on Business Point today. Don't forget that you can download the Global Television mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of these conversations. And you can also follow us across all social media platforms using Global TV NG, and other handles are showing on your screen. You can watch Global Television on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching, and see you again.